the status of retail in America, an interview with the retail doctor himself, Mr. Bob Phibbs, and Mama's yummy and delicious Raspberry Oatmeal Cookie Bars. Stick around!
Welcome to Business Edge Radio, the show that gives you tips, tricks, tools, and techniques about how to build a more profitable business, while at the same time creating your perfect lifestyle. It's a show about working less and living more. A few golden nuggets, a little bit of wisdom, and over 35 years of business experience to help you keep your edge. Lifestyle entrepreneur, best-selling author, internationally renowned business speaker, and daddy of three, Mitch Graff brings the heat with actionable techniques for building the business and lifestyle of your dreams. Now your host, Mitch Graff.
Well, good day, Unleashed Tribe, and welcome to the inner sanctum of Business Edge Radio, the ultimate brainstorming session for your business and life. I am your left-handed seeker of new adventures, a stargazer, a fugitive from the law of averages, and most importantly, daddy of three, Mitch Graff. And on our action-packed show today, we investigate the status of retail in our country. We have a very vivacious and energetic interview with the retail doctor himself, Mr. Bob Phibbs. I answer one of your burning questions from my mailbag, and I end today's show with a recipe for Mama's yummy and delicious Raspberry Oatmeal Cookie Bars. I know you're sticking around for that. For a long time now, it's been well known that the retail industry has been under intense pressure and has been slowly dying, being replaced by online merchants that have less overhead expenses and are able to adjust faster to trends and fads in the market than their brick and mortar peers. Last year sent 17 major retailers into bankruptcy. For some, including Payless Shoe Source and Gymboree, it was their second trip down the bankruptcy lane. In all, retailers closed more than 9,500 stores last year, not to mention the tens of thousands of mom-and-pop businesses that locked the doors for good. Then 2020 came. This year, retailers are facing even tougher challenges than ever before, as COVID-19 caused nearly all U.S. retail to temporarily shutter, forcing customers to either go without or to purchase items online. And to top it all off, the forces that all business has to contend with each and every day to keep the doors open are still out there. Here's just a few of the major retailers that have filed for bankruptcy in 2020 just so far. Century 21, Lord & Taylor, The Paper Store, Brooks Brothers, GNC, Tuesday Morning, JCPenney's, Neiman Marcus, J. Crew, Medell Sporting Goods, Pier 1. These closings come on the heels of major chains like Toys R Us and Sears and Rite Aid trimming back on the number of locations that they operate. It seems that in a digital world, physical stores are becoming a thing of the past. Yet if that were true, why are companies like Apple and Amazon and now even Coca-Cola investing heavily into retail locations? For every announcement of closures and businesses that are cutting back, there seems to be a similar announcement of investment and rebirth or new innovations to current brands. Some firms, it seems, are learning to love this retail apocalypse. A side benefit of having many stores closing up shop, both large and small, is that it's leaving a tremendous opportunity for new businesses to open their doors and new innovations, new approaches to serving the customer, new products, new enthusiasm for taking care of every set of feet that walk through their doors. The truth is that the retail industry isn't dying, but it's going through some major shifts and needs to adapt to a world where the primary function of a physical store is not to drive transactions, but to serve and support customers. Even with all these headline-grabbing closures, e-commerce makes up less than 15% of total retail sales in the United States. Why is that? It's because we like to talk to another human being when making a purchase. I could easily buy my cases of printer paper through an app, but I really enjoy my conversation with Ryan at Staples and will make a special trip just to chat with him and, of course, to pick up a case of paper. He's knowledgeable, he has a sense of humor, which I tend to gravitate towards, and he makes me feel like I'm appreciated and treasured. I also like to visit my local print shop for things like brochures, business cards, direct mail pieces, and other products that I can touch and feel in person, and not just simply look at a photo online. I have a real-life human-to-human interaction with an employee that cares about me, cares about my business, cares about if I'm successful or not, cares about the business they work for, and they have an attitude of do whatever it takes to serve my needs as a customer. I might pay a small amount more for this service, but I am more than happy to do it because I enjoy the time with them and they add real value to my life. It's no secret that Amazon severely impacted superstore book retailers like Barnes & Noble and Borders. Borders filed for bankruptcy back in 2011 and liquidated later that same year. Barnes & Noble managed to survive in part by reducing locations, and they focused on college bookstores, and they expanded into publishing. But they're still a shadow of their former self. Small independent bookstores, however, are thriving. In fact, a study at Harvard Business School found that while the number of independent bookstores plummeted 43% between 1995 and 2000, during the heyday of Barnes & Nobles and Borders, it soared by 35% between 2009 and 2015. We often hear that technology destroys jobs, but that's not really true. It can automate our systems and processes and eliminate the need for certain tasks, but technology can never replace the effect of a warm, pleasant, knowledgeable human who looks into my eyes and says, "Thanks for coming in today. How can I help you?" Value never really disappears. It just shifts somewhere else. To keep brick and mortar stores alive, retailers must address 3 areas of disruption, the first being to offer extreme value. Coming up with a creative way to add value to the customer's experience, whether it be complimentary coffee or a kid's play area or a free upgrade to a membership. Coming up with out-of-the-box ways to bring an extreme amount of value to your customers in a way that they haven't seen before. The second area of brick and mortar disruption is extreme convenience. That is what customers are getting from online shopping, right? To keep them coming into the store, the experience needs to be more enjoyable. What can you do in your business to make the buying process more convenient for your customers? Can you reduce the number of steps taken in order to get them to say yes? Can you offer free shipping or delivery on items that may not be in stock at the time of their purchase? How about offering in-home consultations to your customers so they can shop from the privacy of their own home? And the third disruptor, a craving for extreme experience, which is something that customers cannot get online. Include elements that invite customers to stay longer in the store. Create product wows that hold their attention a little bit longer. In the end, the customer will, above all, remember how you made them feel. And that's something that the online experience cannot match. So how is the brick and mortar segment of the retail world going to not only survive, but thrive in the future? Well, there's many, many factors that go into that recipe, but one ingredient that I can tell you for sure, the companies that will rise to the challenge and thrive will be the ones who invest in their employees, invest in their training, their education, their happiness, their future. If an employee is happy to show up at work every day with a smile on their face, ready and excited to go, that enthusiasm is contagious and will transfer to the customer, which in turn equates to increased sales and repeat business. So, take care of your employees and pretend they mean everything to you. You know why? Because they do!
Here's my email address.
Use the email.
Email.
We get your mail. Let's dive into Mitch's mailbag and answer some of your burning questions.
All right, today's mailbag question comes from Richard in Seattle, Washington, and he writes, "Hey, Mr. Mitch, my family started an online dart supply business earlier this year, but we can't seem to get many new visitors to the site. We tried things like Facebook ads with no luck, and we've tried posting a few times on our social media platforms with no luck as well. The only expenses we have for the business are the website hosting and the products that we bought last year. So we'd like to turn the inventory into profit. Can you recommend anything else that we could be doing?" Well, Richard, it sounds like you have a great concept for a niche online business because right now so many people are looking for ways to self-entertain while they're stuck at home and they have more time than they've had in the past. And I think darts fits nicely into that stay-at-home activity that people are frantic about right now. I can make a few recommendations to you. First of all, I would take a good look at your entire website to make sure it's efficient and attractive as possible. You could be driving a massive amount of traffic to your site, but if it's not easy to navigate or easy for them to make a purchase, your conversion rates will not be good at all. Sometimes the littlest things like colors and font selection can determine whether or not a visitor converts into a customer or just another website visitor. I would do some competitive research on other Dart Supply Company websites and learn how they do things. Look at their colors and their layouts. See how their store is lined out. And even do a price comparison if you have similar products than them. Hey, the more you know about your competitors, the better equipped you are in keeping the edge of your sword sharp. Next, I want you to take a look at your SEO, your search engine optimization on Google. And what you want to make sure you have listed on the back end of your site are what I call the long tail keywords instead of short tail keywords and search terms. Your goal is to end up on page 1 of the search results, right? Then what you want to do is come up with search terms that may not be the most obvious, but that can put you towards the top of those results. An example would be, instead of listing Dart supplies as one of your search terms or keywords, which is probably used by just about every Dart supply company, meaning that you won't be even close to the top of the list, you want to come up with keywords that you know people are using, terms they're putting into the Google bar, but that aren't quite as obvious. Things like possibly Dart supplies for home, best-selling Dart supplies for men, best-selling Dart supplies for women, home Dart products, Dart games for my garage. So just get creative and think of other terms that people might be entering into that Google search bar, and that's what you want to put in on the back end of your website. And when people search for those terms, your business will be listed high up in the results. The way you can research possible long tail phrases is to go to Google AdWords and put in your phrases, and Google will tell you exactly how many searches each month for that particular phrase. It's pretty cool stuff. You also want to make sure that your website is reflective of those long tail keywords that you now have listed in Google, so that the so-called spiders can index your website when someone searches your chosen keywords. If this stuff is over your head, I'm sure that your local Chamber of Commerce has a plethora of great people who would be able to rock your world when it comes to gearing up your online presence. And last, I would want to see some laser beam targeted marketing ads placed on Facebook and through Google AdWords. But don't take out an ad and just throw a bunch of money at it, because you can burn through a tremendous amount of cash very quickly unless you know what you're doing when it comes to placing ads on these platforms. Make sure you study up on how to build an effective ad. Make sure you understand exactly who your target customer is, and make doubly sure that you have some sort of irresistible offer that people can't refuse. So when they come to your website, they are very enticed. Something that is so compelling that they can't resist it. All right, Richard, thanks for the great question, and good luck with your business. I'm also going to be sending you a copy of my book, Business Basics Bootcamp, The Ultimate Crash Course, as my little gift to you. So if you have a question and you'd like me to answer it on the air, send it to info@powermarketing101.com. That's info@powermarketing101.com. And maybe, just maybe, I will read it on the air. Hello, Unleashed Tribe. I am so honored to have you as a loyal listener, and I'm very excited to tell you about the Business Edge Radio app, now available on Apple and Android devices. You can catch up on past episodes, watch short videos of the Business Edge Minute, our 60-second show that gives you quick and easy tips on building a better business and living a better life. And you'll get access to bonus materials that are only available on the app. In fact, I have a nice little PDF bonus waiting for you there right now. Plus, you can email the show, call the show, connect with us on social, check out our website, and even make a nice fluffy omelet. No, you can't really do that. Just go to the iTunes Store or Google Play Store, and you can download the Business Edge Radio app so you can be one of the cool kids on your block. Business Edge Radio, the ultimate brainstorming session for your business and life. Now available in the App Store. Download it today. And if you don't, I'll come visit you on your day off. If you know anything about me, you know that I love my early mornings, and I really love a good cup of fresh roasted coffee. There's nothing better than getting started before the rest of the world with a good cup of joe. That's why I'm so excited to have Mountain Creek Coffee as a partner. The process is so simple. You order, they roast, they ship, you enjoy. They don't roast your beans until an order is placed, which guarantees the absolute freshest coffee that you can get. Check out their artisan dark roast, medium roast, or decaf beans at mtncreekcoffee.com. And when you put in the code EDGE at checkout, you will receive 20% off your first order. I prefer the dark roast because of its full body and bold flavor. You order, they roast, they ship, you enjoy. Log on to mtncreekcoffee.com and enter the code EDGE at checkout, and you will receive a 20% discount off your first order. Pretty cool stuff. Mountain Creek Coffee and Business Edge Radio, a partnership brewed out of the love of coffee. See what I did right there? In today's business world, it's vitally important that you understand what I call the 7 pillars of business success, which are lifestyle design, time management, branding, sales, marketing, pricing, and social media. Regardless of what industry you're in, and whether you have a brick and mortar or are only online, having a solid foundation in these skill sets will set you up for success down the road. And to personally help you with your journey, I've written a book called The Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course, now available on Amazon.com and from other fine bookstores. And it will give you a 30,000-foot view on these topics and many more. It'll help you slow down just a little bit so that you can get your business house in order and get your creative juices a-flowing. Log on to Amazon.com today and get your copy of Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course. You can search my name, Mitch Graff, or search the title of the book. In the dog-eat-dog world of business success, the weak will perish and the strong will survive. Which will you be? I am very excited for today's interview, and I want everybody to meet Bob Phibbs, the world's leading expert on brick and mortar retailers. Who is the champion of retailers? Well, before 1994, there wasn't a champion because retail was already starting to lose ground to online competitors. That's when Bob Phibbs stepped into the fight to give brick and mortar retailers a fighting chance. The Retail Doctor launched in 1994, and for the past 26 years, you've seen his work literally everywhere. He's an internationally recognized business strategist, customer service expert, sales coach, a marketing mentor, author of 3 books, and a very, very effective motivational business speaker, as you will see in a couple of minutes. I highly recommend you guys tighten your seatbelts for this in-your-face interview with the incredible Retail Doctor, Mr. Bob Phibbs. Well, Bob, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Appreciate it, Mitch.
You know, in 25 years, we've seen an awful lot of changes in retail. You know, when you got back into your business, the Retail Doctor, back then the internet was just getting born, wasn't it? And over the last 25 years, we've seen big boxes come underneath intense pressure from the online retailers. We've seen ma and pa, a lot of them just go by the wayside, go out of business because I think they're not tooled up to compete. But we've seen a lot of changes in that retail landscape. In your opinion, what has been the biggest change that you've seen in retail?
What? Do I have an hour? What? The problem is the consumer's changed. That before we had to go to let's say you wanted to buy a treadmill. Well, the only place you could have gone 25 years ago was you had to go to the retailer. And the retailer had their managers or whoever, they went to conferences and associations and all this stuff, and brands went and told them all the features about their products, and then they brought it back to the stores. And the only place you could find that information was simply by going into a brick and mortar store. So all the cards were there with the retailer. Well, nowadays, most of us start our buying online by you're half watching Game of Thrones, you're binging on it again, and you open your iPad and you're kind of looking around and you start that journey, and you have all that information from the product and the specs and all of that, and you can watch videos from various different people reviewing and all sorts of things before you even land in a brick and mortar store. So all of the cards now really land with the consumer, and I think too many retailers are starting the journey, you know, with the customer is halfway down the 50-yard line and they're heading for the goalpost, and you're saying, "Oh, can I help you find something?" We already found it. All you're doing is fulfilling a warehouse order. And that's why so many are struggling, because they haven't figured out I have to get at the kickoff. I've got to get at the start of that journey. I've got to be that part that somebody can't imagine buying it anywhere but me, and being able to engage them in different ways. And I think that's ultimately what's changed and what the opportunity is, Mitch.
And consumer behavior was changing drastically already until about 6 months ago when everything kind of hit. The reasons that we buy and why we buy and what motivates us to buy, that has also changed. The dynamics have changed. And you mentioned features and benefits early on. I think one of the things that is missing from, we'll call them the frontline employees, is they like to talk a lot, and they're listing the features of the gallon of milk or of the 4-post pedestal bed in their bed store. They forgot somewhere along the way to continue to talk about what is the benefit for that consumer that has his checkbook out ready to write a check for you. And they just start talking about the features of the product. And have you seen that as well in the retail space?
Oddly, I haven't seen someone selling me on the features of a gallon of milk there, Mitch. I don't know where you go shopping, but no, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. I have my online sales training, SalesRx, and we work with a lot of high-end different types of retailers, and one of them would be photography stores. And the old school is, you go in and you're looking, so they're going to start off by price. Well, how much you want to spend on a camera body? And then they would be just going through, it does this and this, and the f-stop's this, and you can add this lens, you need a memory card, and you need to have a filter, and you're like, holy crap, sorry I asked.
That's right.
And so many retailers, look, but see, it goes back, Mitch, to that 1960s, all the cards were with us. And they don't realize that I don't give a crap that Jane has been with you for 50 years and remembers back when there were brownie cameras like my grandfather and can tell you all these other things. All that matters is, can Jane explain it to a guy like she's talking to somebody at Starbucks? And if she can't do that in 2020, you're sunk, because I'm not going to give you money to feel stupid. I'm going to give you money that I feel like I'm the man, even if it's a complicated product, right? Ultimately, it's got to be idiot-proof. And if you make it sound like, be careful, we are going to be careful, and we're going to probably buy from a competitor, probably even that same unit, you just didn't make me feel stupid, right?
That's right. And people always get confused. The reason that we buy things, it's not because of price. All the surveys I've seen is price is number 4 or number 5 as far as the motivating reasons why we make the decisions we do. What are the top 2 or 3 reasons that people will buy a product versus another product?
There's only one thing to look at. When people feel they matter, they buy. It's that simple. You control all of that by the person you let on your sales floor, the training you give them. When you look at training as something you did, like you checkboxed, like, oh, we trained them. Oh, what'd you train them? Well, where the bathrooms were and how to issue a refund. And it's like, yeah, no. And how to pick an online order. Like, no, that's not training. That's like, I don't know what that is, task management. But no, training is, the best retailers are understanding, I've got to find a way to build rapport, to discover the shopper, and make a sale. People buy for a wealth of reasons, but ultimately people buy because we're hopeful, Mitch. I think we're on the cusp of a new hedonism. I saw some stupid report yesterday. Somebody was going to send me a PR thing about how Christmas shopping is gone. No one will be buying for other people. They'll just be buying for themselves. I'm like, what did you smoke? Of course they're going to be buying for gifts. What are you thinking? We all realize it could end tomorrow from somebody's cough on a bus, for God's sake. So why the hell wouldn't we? And the smart retailers understand that we are hopeful. When I walk into a store, you better realize that I left my safe house. I was willing to raise my hand and say, you know what? I'm willing to get in my car, put on a damn mask, roll the dice so I can get a place to park, and walk into a probably German-fested, who knows, that was a terrible thing to say, not German-fested, potentially fearful of being German-fested, because we realize that most of it's airborne, not on surfaces now. And I rolled the dice to come into your store. It's yours to lose. I walked in with hope. I'm going to get the guy. I'm going to get the girl. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to get my life back on track. I just had a kid. I'm going to get married. All of these. No one who is depressed goes in and spends big bucks. They're in a bar, for God's sake. Yeah. So retailers, get your act together. I am passionate about brick and mortar retail for one reason. I think we can change the world by the people working and shopping in retail. And it's work. Retail is a game of being brilliant on the basics. Master it, and you're going to be great. But
And-
if you forget it's about the customer, I think you're going to struggle, and you're going to be selling features of a gallon of milk and wonder why you're not making money.
And you see that through all industries. You see those frontline employees, which I think are the most important. It's the inverse hierarchy of management. Those people that are out there on the front lines are holding the brand of these Fortune 500 companies, of these ma and pa stores all throughout Americana. They're holding that brand.
So true.
But they're not getting that training of take care of the customer's needs, do what makes them feel. I mean, people justify their expenditures based on how it makes them feel, and they justify it emotionally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the C-level executives do a 10-minute walkthrough, and they're going to say like, oh, this looks great. This looks great. Instead of really understand they've got to connect with those employees. You make the employees' day, they make the customer's day. It's that simple. And why are so many brands in trouble? Because you've so denigrated the position of retail and scoffed at it like, what a loser, you work retail. Even though you don't say it, that's what comes across. And then you don't give them training, and then you thrilled that they worked for, I don't know, Macy's or somebody, like, oh, they're already trained. Like, no, they aren't. Look at a Starbucks. Would Starbucks hire Jane from Mitch's Coffee House that had failed down the way and say, oh, well, she's trained, she can make Starbucks? No, they would go through and say, you're going to make it our way. And until we're passionate about what it feels like to integrate with your brand, and it doesn't matter whether you sell retail or you're direct to consumer, until you have a branded experience, I think you don't stand out. You know, my brand is, you might say a little forceful, a little, you might say it's a little blunt, but that's my brand. And if you follow me and you believe in it as a retail doctor, then you're going to be my customer. And if you don't, you're probably going to be listening to some guy saying, hang in there, and there's going to be a second wave, and hunker down, and we don't think people are going to shop for Christmas. And that's the world you're going to become. And I'm just saying it's more fun to follow me and say, wow, where could we go with this? Because I think we're at a creative time. Don't you, Mitch?
Oh, absolutely. This is the time for all of us to reinvent, to reimagine our businesses, to pivot. And I've seen it in all industries, people saying, okay, I'm not going to allow this to determine my future. I have to sit down and come up with a new way of accessing the consumer's mindset and figuring out ways to make my products be the best in their world, in their eyes. And I see it happening a lot. But there's two schools of thought, Bob. There's one school of, okay, this is too hard for us, we can't make it. And the companies that are going out of business, I really believe this. I believe that they had structural issues with themselves already. There was problems in the business already. And then the other half of the spectrum is companies that are reinventing the way that they are doing business. So there's the haves and the have-nots. Do you see it the same way?
I couldn't agree more. You know, when you look back at Target and Walmart, they are the ones that really made it because of COVID, because they read Bill Gates. I'm sure of this. They read Bill Gates' study 10 years ago. There's going to be a pandemic coming. Mm-hmm. You're going to have this big thing that's going to shock the system. And they realized, oh, to be essential, we got to have grocery. So everybody thought, oh, it's for one reason. I think it was for another. They realized no one will close us down. But make no mistake, Target and Walmart put millions into their stores in the last 2 or 3 years, and their stock took big hits because they said we're going to put it in employees. I think Walmart built 200 training centers around the country. They started paying more. Walmart has shed that image of people who are only making minimum wage. People are making good, solid living there. And because of that, now those and Amazon, those three, the triumvirate, are going to be able to trounce other retailers who had to close for 3 or 4 months. And while the image, I think, is we want to support local and we want to go through and do it, I'm not going to settle to shop local because I go in and there's bitter Bill or bitter Betty behind the counter feeling like no one's coming in and feeling free to tell me or not talk to me or any number of things. Look, there's a lot of small retailers who've gone out, no two ways about it. But what we're seeing is a younger retailer is knowing the digital channels and saying, I'm going to make this work. I'm not going to be like those people down the way. And so I think, it's like right now in restaurants, I don't know how many people listen to your show in restaurants, but right now it sucks to be a restaurant. But I'll tell you, in 6 months, it's going to be the best time in the world to open a restaurant because something like 60% of restaurants have been marked permanently closed on Yelp right now. And we are going to be anxious to get out there in whatever capacity we are to explore and to try new things. And it will be a great renaissance of that. But we're burning through the people who weren't good at operators, both retail and in food service. There's no two ways about it. We hope there's going to be a vaccine, but I'm not willing to take the doom and gloom of, I had to drop 2 of my news apps, Mitch, because I couldn't start my day. Every day is either Trump or coronavirus, or here's 4 other things that you need to look at right now. I don't need to look at any of that. Mm-mm. What I need to do is focus on my customer. And when you do that, you get that sense of hope, because the people you're meeting in the aisles or on the phone or on a Zoom call or whatever, they're looking for that hope. And that's what any business owner should be thinking about right now, is how do you add value and serve now to sell later? And there's other people that I'm saying, hey, now's the time to sell. We're on the start of a new hedonism. Let's go.
Let's fast forward 12 months. Let's say that we open Bob and Mitch's restaurant, okay? Let's just get through all
nice.
this. Yeah, it's a really nice restaurant, very upscale. But let's say we have our 30 employees in there on day 1 of training. What's the first 30 seconds that you're going to tell them of their training that day?
Customer's most important person that pays our salary. Whatever happens, you stop it to take care of a customer.
And the customer's always right, even when they're wrong. And I think a lot of people...
Yeah, well, I don't know if I go that far, because I am not one of those guys, actually, Mitch. I think there are times that, there are actually blogs of how to intimidate retail people to get your way. And a woman on my Facebook Live, which you can go to Facebook and find me, the Retail Doctor, and I do a live video every Sunday morning at 9, but where I answer your questions. And she was saying how this customer wanted a free, stand. I think she sold Christmas ornaments or something. She wanted a free stand, which is normally $50. And she said, no. And the woman's like, no, you need to give it to me. It's like, no, I'm not. So then she's waiting another customer, ringing her up. The woman comes back in her face again. No. She says, no, I'll help you in a minute when I'm done with this customer. The woman brings her husband in to intimidate her as well. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it. And she felt bad because the customer's paying money felt bad. And I said, you did the right thing, because if you had said, let me, sure, you would have taught her that bad behavior works. And so that's why I don't say customer is always right.
Well, 10 years ago, we didn't have that bad behavior as much. It's really something that's a new dynamic in the modern culture. Because 10 years ago, we all got along. We all were nicer. We all didn't do those tricks that you're talking about. But you've seen it more and more. And you're right. Sometimes you're better off going fishing or going golfing than to serve a customer that's not going to help you meet your ultimate goals and needs. It's very, very simple.
Well, they just attract more people like that, too. That's my thing.
That's right.
Give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, and then the next time they're going to be like, yeah, well, I also want your house, too. And just know your limits. And don't get me wrong, I think most businesses are not making the customer's day. They don't make people feel they matter, which is why they're in trouble, because they don't know their numbers. They don't buy what customers want. Just a small rant here, Mitch. One of the things that's pissing me off more and more is all these stories about local businesses going out. And so you see the store with a big banner going out of business, and the store is full of merchandise. What that tells me is you didn't know how to sell it. All you did was bought stuff. It was old. It was dirty. Any number of things. You didn't figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel sorry for you. You didn't get the help you needed, and now at the end of the day, you're selling your merchandise that you paid full price for, for pennies on the dollar, when you could have sold all of that. And at least if you went out, you weren't stocked to the rafters, because that was your money there.
And one of the things I'm hearing, and you're probably hearing the same thing from retailers, is they feel bad about going back out and selling. They feel that somehow they're breaking some kind of a code or breaking a rule because they're going to go out and try to sell. Whether it's insurance, a used car, a house, it doesn't matter. How do you feel about people thinking that they aren't supposed to be selling right now?
Get over yourself. We all sell.
That's what makes the world go around.
Why are you the one taking out the trash? Because you were sold that if your wife asked you again, it was going to be a cold night, or you might end up having, your meal burned, or anything, or just snide comments, or any number of things. We're always selling. Selling is nothing more than a transference of feeling. But if you don't really believe that you are changing somebody's world by selling this product that they're looking for, then what the hell are you doing? Get over yourself. Go and get some, become a roofer in Arizona in August and see what that feels like, because most of us don't understand that it's a privilege to do most of what your listeners are doing in our lives.
And if you don't like it,
for us.
And if you don't like it, go do something else, right?
Anything else, but if you don't want to learn the soft skills of how do we talk to people, how do I develop confidence in myself, how do I have a feeling of optimism, that doesn't happen. You're not going to read CNN or Fox or MSNBC or watch a video and it's going to come to you. You have to do the hard work. If you don't want to do that hard work, then you're going to have to use physical labor because you're not paid for thinking, you're paid for a back or an arm. And that's a much more punishing place to play. And I think the pandemic should have taught us all of that yes, we do need to be more empathic, but the hard work is between our ears. What we allow in is going to come out our mouth.
Fans of Business Edge Radio, I have a very special treat for you. As you know, I love barbecuing and making up any excuse to get myself outdoors. And that's why I'm so excited to partner with Barbecue Nation. They make incredible sauces and rubs and spices and meat shredders and grill scrapers and lots more. And they're offering a deal for our listeners. Check out bbqnation.net. And when you place an order for any of their products, you'll receive a 20% discount off your order when you enter the word EDGE at checkout. Looking for a magnet that lists your cooking temperatures or different types of smoking woods? They got that. Need a heavy-duty set of meat shredders for your pulled pork or shredded chicken sliders? They got that too. Or my favorite is their Magic Dust Everything Rub that will spice up just about any dish. Log on to bbqnation.net. That's bbqnation.net today. And when you enter the code EDGE at checkout, you'll receive a 20% discount just because you hang out with us on the show. Barbecue Nation, get your grill on. If you know anything about me, you know that I love my early mornings, and I really love a good cup of fresh roasted coffee. There's nothing better than getting started before the rest of the world with a good cup of joe. That's why I'm so excited to have Mountain Creek Coffee as a partner. The process is so simple. You order, they roast, they ship, you enjoy. They don't roast your beans until an order is placed, which guarantees the absolute freshest coffee that you can get. Check out their artisan dark roast, medium roast, or decaf beans at mtncreekcoffee.com. And when you put in the code EDGE at checkout, you will receive 20% off your first order. I prefer the dark roast because of its full body and bold flavor. You order, they roast, they ship, you enjoy. Log on to mtncreekcoffee.com and enter the code EDGE at checkout, and you will receive a 20% discount off your first order. Pretty cool stuff. Mountain Creek Coffee and Business Edge Radio, a partnership brewed out of the love of coffee. See what I did right there? And we all have employees, and we're all trying to support our employees, give them the proper training, help them get through this stressful time. I have 3 companies that had employees, and 2 of them I had to lay most people off during this whole thing. And they're starting to come back slowly, but this has been a challenging time for operators and CEOs and execs as well.
Sure.
How do we support
Sure.
our employees on that front line? What can we do right now to help those employees deal with all the different emotions that they're feeling and help them stay focused on what their prize really is?
Well, the key is you've got to understand that what's happened with COVID is our trust has been broken. Our trust in the government can keep us safe. Our public health service is intact and can keep us safe. Even your own family member could now bring home something that could kill you. And I think also, with furloughed workers, you've taught them that I come before you. And I don't mean a judgment on that, but the reality is, yeah, there's a pecking order. And unfortunately, for me to save my business, I had to let you go. So your number one thing is to realize you've got to do everything to get them to trust you again. And that can be open conversations. It's a matter of checking in with them on a daily basis and just saying, I appreciate you and finding out how you can support them. But ignoring employees and just assuming that they're just going to do it and you're going to give them 2 or 3 times as much work because you've laid off people, that's a recipe for disaster too, because while they may not say anything, they're either secretly looking for another job or they're going to cost you in returns and bad customer service.
So your business has had to reinvent a little bit as well because you're not able to go out there on main stages and do keynotes and to go into retail chains and train big groups of employees. What have you done to kind of pivot in your world?
Well, I don't see myself as necessarily a public speaker, although I am starting to get gigs starting in March. So that's
good.
Encouraging. That'll have been off the podium for a full year at that point. My last gig was March the 12th, and it was one of those crazy days. I was flying back from the West Coast and landed in Newark, and it reminded me of the day when I was in Los Angeles and Rodney King was the officers were acquitted in Los Angeles, and everybody's on the freeway going 95 like, LA's going to burn tonight, got to get home. And that's the way it was on the freeway leaving Newark. Everybody was trying to get home because it started to say 2 million people are going to die in the U.S. in the next few weeks. So being able to look forward to that day when I come back to it, I said, all right, so what's changed? People aren't going to physically go there. Everyone's going virtual. So now I think of myself as a broadcaster, Mitch. I mean, kind of like what we're doing here on Voice. Yeah. I'm doing an awful lot of keynotes virtually. And while I don't necessarily enjoy them as much because I don't craft, there's something to being in person. I don't have the craft of reading an audience and the asides and all of that. It's better than nothing. And frankly, I can appear around the world right now where before I'd be like, and by the way, you're going to be paying first class business travel for me. And it'd be like a game changer because most people would say, well, we can't afford that. And so I think it's, again, just being open to the idea that, well, what if this could be a good thing? That's where I kind of had to start moving my head around. And in fact, I found a new way. We just took on, 30 some new Sales RX subscribers last week because we started saying, all right, well, we just have to figure out how to meet these people where they are. And we have a whole new business model, the way we're going to be doing things. So it's all very exciting, I think. But the idea of pivoting isn't, to me, pivoting is like, oh, I'm not going to be a motivational speaker. I'm going to be a baker. I mean, that to me, people are saying pivoting all the time. No, it's really just nuance, really. I'm still the same guy. I'm still telling the world what to do, as your listeners have heard for the last several minutes. But I'm just doing it in a different manner. So, I've got a broadcast studio now. I've got a teleprompter. I got 2 green screens. I've got 3 cameras. I've got 3 microphones. I'm learning how to use all of it. And that keeps me going. It's fun because I look forward to the time when this will still be a tool in my toolbox and I'll be able to be on stage. And I think that's the same for every business. Virtual isn't going to go away. It's always going to be here with us. And whether it's the pandemic and, even if the lockdowns, we don't get other lockdowns, look at the fires in California. People aren't going out in their house. So you don't have to wait for the customer to come to you anymore in retail. You can go wherever they are anytime and be on their phone and sell virtually and do a virtual closet makeover. There's so many more opportunities if we're just willing to allow ourselves to say, well, what if we could, instead of why aren't we busier? Why aren't my customers? Just forget the whys. Set the goal in 6 months, in a year, and start saying, well, how would I do that? Ask more empowering questions. You get more empowering answers.
Well, like you said, you got to meet them where they are, whether it's on a device, on a phone, on a TV, on a video screen, taking your content, repackaging it, and meeting them where they are. And we all need to kind of look at our businesses the same way. Reverse engineer what we've been doing in the past, reverse engineer that, and then rebuild it with fewer moving pieces and meet people where they want to consume our content, whatever that content is. So tell us about retail. Tell us about retaildoc.com.
So I'm in my 26th year as the retail doctor, and so I provide training. Thank you. I provide training and strategy and consulting to some of the biggest retail brands in the world, all the way down to the smallest mom and pops. I am known as a motivational, some would say irritational speaker, because I want you to take action. I don't want you to hear me. I want you to do something with it, right? Because indecision is no decision. So I want you to hear it and take action. And then my online retail sales training program, Sales RX, where we're training, 10,000 people around the world in 13 countries and 26 states about how do I engage a stranger, discover the shopper, and make the sale. I'm not customer service. Customer service is being nice to people. I'm about you've got to know your margins. You got to sell the widgets. And then I've got a really popular blog and Facebook, and we have 400,000 followers on LinkedIn. So people seem to care what I have to say, which is great. But again, most of them will never hear me in person, and most of them will never buy my product, but I don't know who that would be. So I always have to keep thinking, how do I get more value to my customers? And that's whoever's listening to you, that's what you really want to be thinking about. Knowing my customer and then saying, how do I give more value so I can serve before I can sell?
Well, I can tell you, retail retaildoc.com/blog is your blog, correct?
Correct.
Absolutely fascinating. I don't care what you do for a living, what industry you're in. I don't care what it is you do. There's value in the articles. And I spent half an hour yesterday, and it was almost like going down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. Before I knew it was 30 minutes later, I read about 8 of your blogs. Like, man, I am better at what I do because I spend time with you on your blog. So, yeah, retaildoc.com/blog is a great place. And something else, too, that I want to mention. You've also written some books. You can go to Amazon and see them. There's one that kind of fascinates me. It's called You Can Compete, The Retail Doctor's Tools to Doubling Your Sales by Bob Phibbs. On Amazon, it says it was published in 1840. You've been around a long time. You've been doing this for a couple hundred years. And the paperback version sells for only, and I do say only, $864.56 plus $3.99 shipping and handling. So what's the benefit of that book that's going to justify an $864 price tag?
No free shipping for you. No discount. Screw you.
Anyway,
we're going to get every last penny.
Everything.
That's right.
Yeah, you go to YouTube and go to their website, the blog. You got so many different ways that you can reach out and meet people where they are so they can consume everything that you have to teach. And this is just a small tip of the iceberg, a small taste of what you have to offer. Well, Bob, besides connecting with you there, what else do you do when you're not working? I mean, right now there's some free time, I think, built into all of our schedules. What do you do when you have downtime?
Well, one of the nice things is I moved from Los Angeles to upstate New York probably, 13 years ago, almost to this month. And I wanted a garden, and I'd done a bunch of gardens around the house, but deer have always eaten them up, and I just hate the damn deer. I mean, it's just like, we didn't have that in California. You plant stuff, and they're like, oh, it's deer proof, and you go out, and it's just eaten to the ground. So last year, put a fence up around my front patio, and then this year planted a bunch of stuff. So it's kind of my little Shangri-La that I can take care of, and I know that they're not going to jump in there. And as a matter of fact, talking about how you talk to your customers, I do a lot of my speeches in front of my computer, but lately I've been going out in the garden because again, it's a different voice when I'm outside. It's a different attitude, it's a different vibe, and it's interesting to see how that works. So I'd encourage all of you who use social media to mix it up to see what your audience wants to do. Don't just assume that this is easier for you. It really does seem to be variety is the spice of life. There you go.
So I've been a gardener since I've been young, and this year, me too, I built a garden that was bigger than I have in years past, and I planted black-eyed peas for the first time ever. Didn't know anything about them, but my father was a big proponent of black-eyed peas. I was raised on them. I cook them about once a month here at the house, so I grew some.
Are you from the South? Are you from the South?
No, he was. He was born and raised in Van Buren, Arkansas, so yeah, he's true blue Southern guy. But anyway, I grew them, and then 6 days ago, we started having the fires up here in Oregon, and I had a half inch of soot all over my entire garden. All the squashes, the pumpkins, whatever veggies were still left. So I went out there to try to harvest them, put my mask on because our smoke is still pretty thick. We're in a level 2. We were in a level 3 for the last 6 days, but they finally opened things up yesterday, and all my peas are gone. I'm not going to be able to sample them. I tried rinsing them off, but the winds that we had and the smoke just kind of killed the oomph of the root systems.
It's toxic.
It's toxic. And so, okay, I grew them for you, Dad, but I can't eat them. So. Well, Bob, thank you so much for spending the time, and look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it.
Man, oh man, I sure do love that, man. And my biggest takeaway from the interview today, get over yourself. Don't feel sorry for yourself or your business because things are tough. Pick yourself up, dust off your scrapes, and get to work figuring out ways to make your business relevant and profitable. You have the ultimate say, and nobody else.
Now it's time for stories from the field. The great, the good, and the terrible.
Well, help me welcome the newest member of the Business Edge Radio family, Stories from the Field, the great, the good, and the terrible. Each week, I'm going to bring you stories that will either put a smile on your face or will make you cringe. Today, I'm going to share with you a couple of each. First, the great. Author and business consultant Peter Schenkman was getting ready to board a flight that was the last leg of a long day of traveling. It just happened to occur over dinner time, and he knew he would be starving when he deplaned and headed home. Hey, at Morton's, can you meet me at the Newark airport with a porterhouse when I land in 2 hours? Okay, thanks. He kind of meant it tongue-in-cheek. Imagine his surprise when he got off the plane to find a tuxedo gentleman holding a bag that contained a 24-ounce Morton porterhouse steak, shrimp, potatoes, bread, napkins, and silverware. Shankman noted that the tweet had to be noticed, someone had to get the approval for the idea, a cook had to make the food had to be driven 23.5 miles away from the nearest Morton's, and somebody had to track down his flight information and figure out where he was landing in order to meet him at the right location. All while his stomach was grumbling on his 2.5-hour flight. Very impressive. Next story comes to us from Lexus. Most of us have experienced this at one time or another. The dreaded vehicle recall. It's usually some minor part, but replacing it ends up being a huge inconvenience for the car owner, even when replacement parts are free. Lexus certainly knows how to take the sting out of that. Although previous recalls had been addressed by sending technicians to the affected customer's home to fix the problem on the spot, when the Lexus ES350 sedan was recalled in 2006, the company decided to ask owners to come into the dealership. Instead of sitting in a waiting room waiting for their cars to be worked on, customers were given a brand new Lexus instead. No questions asked. And now the terrible. This story comes to us courtesy of United Airlines. Lately, United Airlines customer service has definitely had its fair share of blunders. The first big goof happened in 2008 when United employees recklessly damaged the guitar of musician David Carroll. Sitting in his airplane seat, Carroll saw employees throwing around his guitar on the tarmac, powerless to protect his property. Like any concerned customer, Carroll went through the proper channels to report both the behavior and subsequent damage. I notified 3 employees who showed complete indifference towards me, says Carroll. The customer service experience was so appalling, it inspired Carroll to write and record a song called United Breaks Guitars, and you can find it on YouTube. And to date, it's got 20 million views. Needless to say, United took a big hit on that one. Carroll even wrote a book aptly named United Breaks Guitars, The Power of One Voice in the Age of Social Media. Employee indifference to the company's mistakes ballooned into a PR nightmare for United. The takeaway? Empathy is key to building a successful customer service team. If employees don't care about the mistakes that their company makes and how they affect individuals, they're not going to be invested in any kind of positive change. Like a muscle, empathy is something that you can strengthen over time. Practice empathy with customers by asking more questions and then mirroring their answers. No matter how difficult the situation, they'll feel heard. If you have a story that either shows impeccable customer service or cringeworthy service, send your story that is 500 words or less to info@powermarketing101.com, and if we read your story on the air, I'll send you a copy of my new book, High Voltage Branding. Go from ordinary to extraordinary as my way of saying thanks. Hello, Unleashed Tribe. I am so honored to have you as a loyal listener, and I'm very excited to tell you about the Business Edge Radio app, now available on Apple and Android devices. You can catch up on past episodes, watch short videos of the Business Edge Minute, our 60-second show that gives you quick and easy tips on building a better business and living a better life. And you'll get access to bonus materials that are only available on the app. In fact, I have a nice little PDF bonus waiting for you there right now. Plus, you can email the show, call the show, connect with us on social, check out our website, and even make a nice fluffy omelet. No, you can't really do that. Just go to the iTunes Store or Google Play Store, and you can download the Business Edge Radio app so you can be one of the cool kids on your block. Business Edge Radio, the ultimate brainstorming session for your business and life. Now available in the App Store. Download it today. And if you don't, I'll come visit you on your day off. In today's business world, it's vitally important that you understand what I call the 7 pillars of business success, which are lifestyle design, time management, branding, sales, marketing, pricing, and social media. Regardless of what industry you're in, and whether you have a brick and mortar or are only online, having a solid foundation in these skill sets will set you up for success down the road. And to personally help you with your journey, I've written a book called The Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course, now available on Amazon.com and from other fine bookstores. And it'll give you a 30,000-foot view on these topics and many more. It'll help you slow down just a little bit so that you can get your business house in order and get your creative juices a-flowing. Log on to Amazon.com today and get your copy of Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course. You can search my name, Mitch Graff, or search the title of the book. In the dog-eat-dog world of business success, the weak will perish and the strong will survive. Which will you be? We've all heard it said before that the best lessons learned are from the School of Hard Knocks. This prestigious university has some of the best alumni in the world, and the curriculum is more difficult than Stanford Medical School. You can't apply for admission, and you don't get to pick your classes. Well, now you can give the gift of a PhD from this prestigious university. This authentic diploma is printed on the same high-quality paper that the top schools in the world use for their diplomas and comes with an official gold foil seal that will look great framed in any room. This PhD degree will become the center of conversation. Get one for your spouse, for your boss, for your parent. Give them the gift that money can't buy today. When you place your order at schoolofhardknocks.net, you'll receive a special discount of 20% at checkout when you enter the code EDGE. Once again, 20% off your first order when you use the code EDGE at checkout. Schoolofhardknocks.net. That's schoolofhardknocks.net. Get one for that person in your life who seems to have everything, or heck, get one for yourself. You've earned it.
Time for Cooking Corner with Mitch. Yum.
When I was a kid, I remember my mom making us her version of a granola bar after school to tide us over until dinner time. It came in a little paper cupcake holder. It had marshmallows and peanuts and raisins, and if she was in a good mood, it had M&Ms in it as well. We would sit in the backyard and slowly eat them one piece at a time so that they lasted. Well, the snacks we give our kids these days are a bit more of a grab-and-go variety, not something loosely piled into a cupcake holder. So today's recipe is for Tammy's yummy and delicious Raspberry Oatmeal Cookie Bars. And they're great for lunches in the car on the way to work, as a pick-me-up in the mid-afternoon, or as a midnight snack on those days when you endlessly stare into the fridge waiting for the perfect snack to jump out in your lap. So turn on some good music, grab a glass of your favorite beverage, put on your baking apron, and join me in the kitchen. This recipe produces 9 servings, but I recommend you double or triple the ingredients so you can wrap them up and have them on hand for the next couple of weeks. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees and grab yourself an 8x8 inch non-stick pan. And what you'll need for this recipe are 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, 1 cup of all-purpose flour or 1 cup of all-in-one gluten-free flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of rolled oats, 1/2 cup of softened butter, 3/4 cup of raspberry jam, or my favorite, strawberry freezer jam. Combine your sugar, your flour, your baking soda, salt, and the rolled oats into a big bowl. Rub in the butter using your hands or a pastry cutter to form a crumbly mixture. Then press 2 cups of the mixture into the bottom of your prepared pan. Spread the jam or your puree over the top to within about 1/4 inch from the edge. And then sprinkle the remaining crumbs on top and gently press it into the jam. Bake for 35 to 40 minutes or until a perfect golden brown. Allow to cool for just a few minutes before cutting, but don't let them cool all the way, or your vanilla ice cream that you're going to be putting on top won't slowly melt into a gooey pile of goody goodness. Give this one a try and let me know how it turns out. Well, that will do it for this edition of Business Edge Radio. My parting shot today is this. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. Booker T. Washington. Until next time, this is Mitch Graff, reminding you to live every day like it's a Saturday and to live with passion. I'll catch you later.
Thanks for hanging out with Business Edge Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to subscribe, rate, and review. Then hop on over to www.mitchgraff.com to get even more meat and potatoes. We also invite you to follow the show at facebook.com/Unleashed Tribe. The most valuable asset that any of us has is our time. And we thank you for choosing to spend some of your precious time with us.